mean, just about every young boy and probably half the young girls too dreamt of being a train driver. Well, here's my chance. And to introduce me to this one, the Blue Baby, here's driver John Bertram. G'day, John.
Hi, Frank.
Good to meet you. Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about this loco.
Well, this is a blue tank engine, a DD-17. Was built in the Ipswich workshops in 1952. It's slightly different to the normal steam engine that doesn't have a tender. You've got, on either side of your boiler, you've got these large tanks which contain water for the boiler. Between them, you've got the main boiler, which generates the steam for the cylinders, which is, you've got one on either side of the engine, your big cylinder, and naturally inside you've got your big piston, which is connected to your main driving rod. Here's your main driver, which in turn connects to your main driving wheel via the big crank here, and that turns the main driver, which is in turn connected to two other drivers via coupling rods. Consequently, you've got three drivers on each side of the engine propelling the unit.
And we all know about the chimney.
The chimney, well, after your steam has done its work on the cylinders, it's of no more use. It's exhausted to the atmosphere through the smoke box, along with the gases and smoke from the fire, and it goes out through the chimney to the atmosphere.
I like the nifty little thing you had for when you had a slippery ride.
Oh, yeah, that's...
And you used to lose traction.
Right,
you used to let down a little bit of sand.
Yeah, you had to have the sand. That's gravity-fed sand. It's held in a container up the top. And if the wheels slipped, which they often did in wet or dewy weather, or sometimes with grasshoppers on the line, it's hard to believe, but you get a plague of grasshoppers, they would slip.
Well, I suppose, John, you'd better show me what goes on inside the cabin.
Yep, all right.
I suppose the first thing's the firebox, isn't it?
That's correct. That's on your left-hand side there.
And this is the job?
That's right. That's the fireman's job.
So he just had to keep this...
to keep the fire going all the time, keep the steam pressure up for the driver.
How many tons used to shovel in and out?
Well, probably on this engine, this tank engine, 4 ton of coal would last an 8-hour shift.
Must have been hard, Jack.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. No, well, you had to be able to stand up while she was bouncing around on the old track and that.
Just keep it going.
Yeah. It was a bit of a battle, a bit of a contest all the time between the old fireman and the steam gauge.
Well, we better just shut the firebox. Now, John, how do you know that there's enough water in the engine?
Well, you've got 2 gauge glasses situated on the front of the boiler, left and right, and they're protected by heavy glass, and they give you the level of water in the boiler.
And the fireman had to watch that?
He's got to watch that. He's responsible for water and steam. The fireman's, that was his job.
Now, how did you know that you had enough steam ready to drive?
Well, you've got a steam gauge here, showing around about 150 now, pounds per square inch. Normally this one would run at about 175 pounds a square inch.
So
steam pressure.
We're ready to go then, are we?
Yeah, if you like.
What's the procedure?
All right, this is what you call your reversing lever. We'll send you either forward or backwards. We go forward, you move that forward, it's in forward gear. This is your regulator. You open this regulator. Naturally, you'd have to take your brakes off first. Open the regulator like this, which will allow steam from the main pilot valve at the top of the boiler into the cylinders, where the steam will do its work on the pistons.
Now, you told me there's something you always have to do before you start.
That's right. You must blow the whistle.
My job?
Yes, you can blow it.
Here we go.
That was well done, Frank. We're off now. Down the track.
They say often that it was the romantic age of steam. Do you think that's the right word?
Well, I suppose when you think back on it, you do, but you might have thought differently if you were chugging along about 1:30 in the morning and you'd been going for 12 hours or something, but I suppose they were romantic days, you know. They're just something that's belongs to the past, you know.
Having survived depression and war, the iron horses succumbed to progress. Making way for the mighty diesels, steam engines faded away in the late 1960s.